shout out to all my Bisaya na mga kababayan, especially sa mga taga-PNW. Hello sa inyo! Hi everyone, this is Sheila and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So as promised, like I said on my first YouTube video, I'm gonna share with you guys my experience with my first miscarriage. So I hope the lighting in this room is not totally bothering you guys at all. We just got back from my son's swimming lesson this morning and it's about 10 o'clock. School is done and it's summer break, so that's why I'm recording this in the bedroom. Okay, so April 2022, last year, when I found out that I was pregnant. So my husband and I have been trying to get pregnant for over 3 years to have a second child. I have a 13-year-old son, and I never had any issues or problem getting pregnant with him. I've never used any contraceptives at all throughout our marriage, so we just use withdrawal. So when we realized that we are actually having problems getting pregnant, that's when we consulted our doctor. So our family doctor or GP did some blood work just to check, overall, to make sure that the two of us don't have any problems with, your thyroid hormones, any problems with diabetes, hypertension, and all those blood tests. And then got referred to OBGYN, and then my husband underwent with a sperm count test, and it came back okay, so it doesn't look like it had any problem. We also got referred to the fertility clinic, and then I got tested for, I can't remember the exact term, but it was an x-ray test where they use a dye to check and see if there is problems in the anatomy of my uterus. And when I went for that test, it came back okay, no problems at all, other than my uterus is tilted, which is actually not a cause for concern. And then while we were waiting for our next step, the next step that we have to do, April, I found out that I got pregnant. And we were so happy and so excited about it. It was just, absolute happiness that I had. I think it was close to Mother's Day. I didn't tell my husband or my kid right away because I wanted to surprise them on Mother's Day. I can't remember. I think it was a week after or a week before Mother's Day when I found out that I was pregnant. But then that year was also very hard because of COVID. So where I work, we had a couple outbreaks, and I think we had an outbreak at that time. I was supposed to go for a blood test for pregnancy screening, and then I wasn't feeling so good because I feel like I was gonna have a flu, but I never thought that I was gonna get COVID. And then that's when I found out that I had COVID. That was my first COVID experience. I wasn't really worried that COVID is going to affect my pregnancy because I had vaccines. So because I had to quarantine, instead of telling my husband and my kid, surprising them on Mother's Day to tell them that I'm pregnant, I had to tell them because my husband and I both had to quarantine, and I think my child too at that time. So yeah, I had a small gift bag. I put it on the table in the living room, and then it says, hoping that they would notice it, and outside it says, please open me. And inside I had a onesie, a baby onesie, and then my pregnancy test kit. And yeah, and they were just so happy, and my kid was just so surprised. He has been asking for a sibling for a while. So they were just so excited, and we were all just so happy. So yeah, so fast forward, I got better. I was okay, went back to work. So I think I was about at the end of my 10 weeks, close to 11 weeks because I know I was gonna have I was gonna get my first ultrasound the following week. Sorry about that. So yeah, I was at work. I was working an evening shift, and then I had to use the bathroom. Then I wiped, and I noticed that I had spotting on the tissue. It was like a very slight amount of pink tinge blood. So I'm like, oh, this is new. I never had this experience with my firstborn. So I'm like, okay, every pregnancy is different, and I know that spotting can be normal in a first trimester. So I wasn't so worried about it. So yeah, I went on with my shift, and then I decided to like use the bathroom again just to double check, and I did. And when I wiped, I noticed that there was more spotting, and this time the blood was more like, it was still a pink but more like darker, not red but just darker. So I told my coworker, the other nurse, and I told her that hey, I have some spotting, but I think I'm gonna be okay. But she was all worried about me, and she's like, you know what, you should go home and get some rest. And so I did. So I went home at night, and then I told my husband that I was having some spotting, and he was like, maybe we should go to the hospital. And I reassured him that no, it's okay. I don't feel any cramps. I'm probably just tired. I just needed to rest. So that's what I did. So bed rest the entire night. Probably just went to the bathroom, or I can't remember if I did. So the next day in the morning, I woke up so early. I went to the bathroom. That was probably like close to 6 in the morning. And then I peed. And then when I wiped, I noticed that there was more blood. It wasn't much. Like there was no trace of blood when I peed, only when I wiped. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna phone my doctor. And I phoned my doctor, and I told him what is happening. And he asked me if I have any crampings. I'm like, no, I don't have any. And she's like, okay, I just need you to monitor the spotting. If it becomes heavier, you phone me or you come to the emergency room. So I'm like, okay. So I called work, and I said, no, I'm not gonna go to work today because I needed to rest. And so yeah, they went by, and I was cleaning the house. I told my friend I wasn't really doing anything heavy at all. I was just, minor stuff, wash the dishes and all. And then if I feel like I'm tired, I would sit down and rest. And I think I started to notice that my lower back is started to ache. It was manageable. It wasn't too much. And so I phoned my friend, and I told her what is happening. And she's like, maybe you need to go to the emergency room now. I'm like, no, the bleeding stopped. So it was like probably close to noontime. The bleeding has stopped, but I can feel like a mild cramp or ache in my back, but not in my belly. So I'm like, okay, I just probably need to rest. And that's what I did. And then, so I just laid down in the couch the entire day. That's what I did. Because I'm like, I feel like every time I try to make a move, I might cause myself to bleed, which is kind of, I don't know. If I think about it now, it was kind of dumb for me. I should have known, but I feel like I should have known, but really, I didn't know what was going on. I think at that point, 50-50. I was thinking that this is probably just minor. This is just normal. Nothing that would cause an alarm. I don't know if at that point I was in denial, because I think I know, part of me know that I am already miscarriaging. But because it was the first time, I really don't have an idea. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like you notice symptoms of miscarriage, but because I'm the one experiencing it, I don't know, I was probably in denial. So yeah, evening came, and then I don't know, I stayed in bed, didn't move too much. I didn't want to worry my husband too much at that time too. And then I think what happened was the pain just became so intense. And then I was started to bleed so much. So I phoned my GP at the hospital because he was on call. But he was busy with an emergency. So I told the nurse, can you please have him call me? And because we just lived close to the hospital. It's just next block. So cramping became so intense in the evening. That was probably around, I would say 10 in the evening, 10, 11, around that time. But no bleeding. So now thinking about it, I should have phoned my doctor right away. But I don't think it would make any difference at all because I realized that I was miscarriaging. Now I realize that I was miscarriaging. At that time, I had no idea. It was just so much pain. I just wanted to lay down, and that's what I did because there was no bleeding. And then overnight, I think I fell asleep. I was taking Tylenol and Advil at the same time. I fell asleep from the pain. And then I think I woke up probably around 5 o'clock in the morning because I had this very intense pain and I needed to go to the bathroom. So when I got out of the bed, I felt a sudden gush of blood and I'm like, oh my gosh, it felt so big. I ran to the bathroom and I was just bleeding and the pain was just so intense. It's like you're giving birth. Contractions. It was so bad. I had to I was holding it because my kid is around and I don't want to worry him too, but I was just crying and screaming and I told my husband, take me to the hospital. So he did. He drove me to the hospital and took me to the emergency room and I was just bleeding so much. The doctor was not in at that time. That was my GP, but he was on call. So they got a hold of them. So yeah, I lay down. I thought I was passing some clots. And I was just bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. So they gave me some painkillers. I intramuscularly through the muscles with a needle. It was hydromorphone as far as I remember. Just to help with the pain. And then the doctor asked me, or the nurses asked me, like, do you want to stay overnight just to monitor you? And I said, no, I want to go home. We live close, so I don't want to stay in the emergency room. That's the worst place I wanted to be. And I won't be so comfortable at all. I want to go home and, I'll be more comfortable at home. So they're like, okay, monitor your bleeding. So I was just crying and sobbing at the time because I know, even though they weren't telling me yet and my doctor wasn't telling me yet, I know that I've lost the pregnancy already. So I was just crying. I know some of the nurses that were working there because they were my coworkers. And so I was just sobbing. And the first thing I remember that came out of my mouth was like, how am I going to tell my child? Because he's going to be heartbroken. So anyways, we went home. And then, yeah, I lay down in bed. The painkiller helped a little bit. But then I decided, once again, I felt like there's pressure and that I needed to pee or poop. So went to the bathroom. No, I went in the tub because I wanted to see if ever I pass a pregnancy or the embryo. I wanted to see if that was it. So yeah, I went in the tub and then whoop, it goes. It was just this very big clot. And I think I fainted. And my kid found me and he was just screaming for help. So yeah, and then my husband, it was so bad. It was so bad actually. He shouldn't have found me like that, but you know what? I have a tough kid. He's strong. And at the same time, gentle at heart. So yeah, my husband took me back to an emergency room. They set up me with some IV fluids, a bolus, because I think I was so dehydrated from the bleeding. And then I stayed at the hospital overnight. So the following week, I went and see my OBGYN with my husband, and he said, everything looks fine. Your uterus is clean. There are no retained tissues of pregnancy, so I should be okay. I might still be bleeding a little bit for the next couple of days, but it should go away. And yeah, and you know, the same spiel, he said, wait for at least one cycle before you try and get pregnant again. And so I asked him what could have caused the miscarriage, and he's like, there is really no explanation unless they predicted that I was gonna have a miscarriage, and then a test was done. So what I had was a complete miscarriage, or a complete abortion. That's what it's called. And it's like mostly the explanation is the cause of miscarriage at that stage is a chromosomal. So the embryo or the fetus was developing abnormally because of abnormal chromosomes. So, and then the body decided that it's abnormal, of course, and that the pregnancy is not going to continue. Yeah, and he said there is nothing that you could have done that would have caused it. I was like, what about COVID? He said he's not disregarding. So I asked my OB if COVID could have caused a miscarriage, and he's like, it is possible, but there is no research or further research or studies about it yet that would say that COVID can cause miscarriage. But so yeah, and then I asked him if there's anything that I could do or we could do to prevent another miscarriage. It was kind of annoying because he was almost telling me that, no, don't worry about it, it's just your first miscarriage, you're still gonna get pregnant, and most of the time after a miscarriage, women get successful on their next pregnancy, which is kind of annoying actually, when I think about it right now. Like, if there's any way, tests or anything that could be done to help women, even though it's their first miscarriage, going through it is not very easy. So yeah, that was the story. That's how I had my first miscarriage. So if you're watching this video because you are going through the same thing, I am really, really sorry that you are in this situation. Please know that you are not alone, and there is nothing that you could have done to get to this point, and that you will get through this, okay? So yeah, that's my first miscarriage story, and I hope that this answers a little bit of your questions or queries, and that it will help you, my story would help you in some way. Know that you are not alone. You'll get through this, and that you are strong. Thank you so much.